The little girl you see in these videos was Kaylee-Jayde Priest with her mom, Nikki. You might think that they have a normal, loving mother-daughter relationship, but when the cameras were turned off, Nikki would turn into a cold monster who saw her daughter as an inconvenience. In fact, a few hours after Kaylee was seen in this CCTV footage, she would be found dead in a room with horrific bruises. And then, barely a month later, Nikki would be dancing again on TikTok as if nothing happened. But what really happened to Kaylee? And was Nikki involved in her daughter's death? Let's explore the case of the woman who killed her kid to post TikToks. On the morning of August 9th, 2020, police in Birmingham, UK, responded to a call in the Kinghurst apartment building where a little girl was found lying unresponsive in her room. The girl was 3-year-old Kaylee-Jayde Priest. She was described as a beautiful and bubbly little girl who was always smiling. Kaylee lived with her mom, 23-year-old Nicola Priest, or Nikki, and her baby brother who was barely a year old. Nikki was the one who called the emergency services that morning, and they arrived at around 11:17 a.m. But at 11:25 a.m., Kaylee was sadly pronounced dead. One of the paramedics later reported that when they arrived, Nikki was on the bed crying and distressed and calling out, "I don't think she's alive." The little one was on the floor next to the bed, lying on her back. Kaylee was wearing a pink pajama top and blue shorts when they found her. As they began their efforts to save her, they realized something shocking. It was apparent she had been dead for some time. Her body was stiff and lips were purple in color. At the time, Kaylee's mom was dating a guy named Callum Redfern. She told paramedics that they put Kaylee to bed at 7 p.m., but that she was sick 3 times that night. She said that the last time she checked on her daughter was around 10:30 p.m. before going to bed herself. But then when she woke up at 10:30 a.m. that morning, she found her daughter was unresponsive, so she moved her to the floor to perform CPR. Nikki went on to tell the paramedics that 2 weeks before the incident, Kaylee had fallen off her play table and hit her head, but did not sustain other injuries. This is what one of the paramedics said in their report. She said she vomited after she hit her head, but no other injuries, and she was happy and fine after. She told me she had some reduced appetite recently and wasn't eating as normally generally. However, when the paramedics cut open Kaylee's pajama top, what they found told a completely different story. I saw marks on her chest and torso area. There were bruises in small clusters on the side. There was a red abrasion in the middle of the chest. Around this point, the paramedics also started to notice some weird things about the 3-year-old's bedroom. It was just a plain room with a small dirty mattress, no bed sheets or duvet, no curtains or blinds. It just didn't look like a place where a child should be sleeping. This was more than enough to make the police bring in both Nikki and her boyfriend Callum for questioning. And that's when the true horrors of what happened to little Kaylee-Jayde would be unveiled. Now, Nikki was a very active TikTok user, and before this incident, she had posted several videos with her daughter Kaylee portraying herself as a loving and caring mom. But behind the cameras, nothing could have been further from the truth. As the investigation into Kaylee's murder continued, Nikki was free to mourn her daughter, and she chose to do so on TikTok, posting a tribute video for her daughter with the caption, "R.I.P. my baby." In another video, she can be seen crying and lip-syncing the lyrics to the song "To My Parents." The song goes, "I'm sorry mom and dad, I know I messed up bad. I should have done better." A few days later, another tribute was made for Kaylee saying, "I love you so much, darling. Mommy will never forget you ever. R.I.P. Angel." But then, just one day later, Nikki was back to her old self, posting a dancing video with the captions, "Way too serious," laughing emoji, "Dancing always helps me." In another video, she would show off her new makeup saying, "Love my makeup purchase, everything goes perfect." Her daughter had not even been dead for more than 2 months, and she was acting like it was nothing. By the end of September 2023, investigators had gathered enough evidence to arrest Nikki and her boyfriend Callum for Kaylee's murder. A post-mortem revealed that Kaylee died from chest and abdominal injuries that were consistent with being punched, kicked, or stamped upon. Some of the injuries showed signs of healing and were dated back 2 weeks before her death, suggesting that she had been a victim of physical abuse. The injuries were severe enough that experts compared them to the kind you get by being hit by a car going 40 miles per hour or falling 3 stories onto a concrete floor. Both Nicola and Callum denied the murder charges but pointed fingers at each other for abusing Kaylee. But it was during the trial in June 2021 that the actual details of how Nikki Nikki behaved towards her daughter would be revealed. Before Nikki started going out with Callum, she had been dating another guy by the name of Dan, who actually treated Kaylee like his own daughter. During their relationship, Dan said that he did notice some bruises on Kaylee, but assumed that they were results of the child's clumsiness. He said that while Nikki might not have won Mother of the Year award, he never imagined she was capable of hurting her own daughter. However, Dan's mother, Lisa Dixon, had a different opinion of Nikki. At one point in 2018, Nikki and Kaylee were living with Dan's mother, Lisa. And during this period, Lisa said she noticed how harshly and cruelly Nikki treated Kaylee. She said that Nikki would use words like rat and bitch to refer to her daughter. But while her son claimed that he never saw Nikki abusing Kaylee, Lisa said she actually witnessed 6 separate incidents where Nikki used corporal punishment to discipline her daughter. Several other witnesses also told the jury Nikki would hit Kaylee around the head and refer to her as and say mean things like she wished she never had her. A 17-year-old babysitter who sometimes looked after Kaylee said that she saw Nicola, who she called Nikki, slap her daughter twice in anger. One time when the little girl asked for food, and another time when she placed a blanket over her baby brother's face. The babysitter went on to say that she wanted to pick up the little girl so Nicola would stop hitting her, but Nicola grabbed Kaylee and pulled her hair before dragging her into the bedroom. The babysitter said she had arrived at the apartment around 3 p.m. but left at 8:30 to 9 p.m. A neighbor who lived in the apartment, just Nicola, told the court that she once heard a bang above and then Kaylee crying before Nicola allegedly said, "I'll just say she fell off the bed." Other neighbors said that they would often hear Nikki shouting at Kaylee, saying things like "shut up," "go away," or "leave me alone," but never anything kind or positive. They claimed that they noticed that every time Kaylee cried, music would start playing as if to drown out the sound of her crying. A longtime friend of Callum named Matthew Alpott told the jury about Nikki and Callum's dysfunctional relationship. The two had only been dating for 3 months before Kaylee's death, but within that period, Nikki had done things to show that she valued Callum above everything and everyone in her life, including her own children. Despite being a struggling single mom with debts and rent arrears, she had withdrawn an equivalent of $1,140 to buy Callum a BMW. Matthew said that when he and his friend went to buy the car, they found that it cost around $760, but Callum didn't tell Nikki because he wanted to pocket the remaining money. Despite Callum's constant disrespect and showing that he didn't really care about her or her children, Nikki held on to this relationship even after an incident where he led the local police on a terrifying car chase with both Kaylee and her baby brother in the car. Matthew also told the court that his friend had a terrible temper and that he actually had seen him discipline Kaylee and put her behind the stair gate because he wanted to sleep with Nikki. The prosecutor read chilling messages in court showing these two monsters conspiring to abuse this little girl. In one text exchange sent on July 24th, Nikki wrote to Callum saying, "I'm gonna kill her because she keeps leaving the living room or going in the kitchen, so I've paled her once again and smacked her in her nappy." Callum said, "Good, give her one for me." Nicola replied, "I will, babe." 3 days later, Callum texted Nikki saying, "I'm going to keep the little brat away from me. Sick of your daughter." How sick do you have to be to actually bond about abusing a defenseless child? The prosecutor said the text messages painted a vivid picture of the uncaring attitude that both Nicola and Callum had toward the little girl. A chilling CCTV footage was also played in court, showing the last moment of Kaylee before she was brutally murdered. This haunting CCTV footage was taken on August 7th and shows Nikki and Kaylee going to a local park hours before she would be found dead in her room. In the footage, you can see Kaylee jumping and skipping like any normal 3-year-old, and she seems fine. You can also notice that she's trying to get her mom's attention, while Nikki is busy scrolling through her phone and looking at her reflection in the mirror. The prosecution said that this was more than enough evidence that Kaylee didn't matter to Nikki. When they got to their apartment floor, the mother and daughter are seen getting off the elevator, where sadly, Kaylee is never seen alive again. Callum's friend Matthew was actually in the apartment on the night of August 8th before Kaylee was found dead. He said that when he arrived, Kaylee was already in her pink and white PJs, eating frozen food at her table, which was in the corner, separate from the others. After finishing her meal, Matthew said that Kaylee started playing and jumping around in the apartment. At 7 p.m., Matthew said that Callum went to put Kaylee to bed as Nikki continued to smoke on the balcony. According to Matthew, Callum was with Kaylee for about 10 minutes before Nikki joined him in Kaylee's bedroom. room. Matthew said that he could hear muffled voices in Kaylee's room, but he couldn't tell what they were talking about. Like many 3-year-olds, Kaylee didn't immediately fall asleep, so when Callum and Nikki left and went into Nikki's room, Kaylee could be heard rattling the stair gate that closed off her room, asking to be let out to play. Her requests were, however, ignored, and Kaylee eventually went to bed. But a short while later, Matthew said that he heard Callum shouting from the hallway that Kaylee was sick. Matthew told the jury he didn't know what Callum was doing in Kaylee's room at the time because she had already gone to bed. Nikki went and changed the bed sheets while Callum ran a bath. Then, after 10 to 20 minutes, the couple came back into the living room after putting Kaylee back to bed. In his police statement, Matthew said that he had been thinking about leaving for a while because he had an out-of-town job in the morning, but Callum insisted that he stay and chill for a bit. However, after Kaylee got sick, Callum suddenly changed his tune and was in a hurry to leave. Matthew said that he did go back to the apartment later to get his sunglasses that Callum forgot, and while there, he passed by Kaylee's room and saw her sleeping in her bed, but only saw her head as she was under the duvet. Nikki and Callum would later exchange text messages that night at around 11:17 p.m., with Callum saying, "Callum, I am okay. What about you, baby? How's Kaylee? Sick anymore after?" Nikki, "Good, I'm good. She's still being sick." Callum, why, what's up?" Nikki, "Nothing, babe. Just feels sick and now just sick in the bowl. She gets upset when I go to check on her, babe." After a while, Nikki went from worrying about her daughter being sick to talking about how nice it was for Callum to visit. Callum then said that he was going to bed and the two exchanged "I love yous." Could Nikki have been so completely self-involved that she didn't think about taking her daughter to the hospital? The jury heard that if Kaylee had been taken to the hospital for treatment sooner, she probably would have survived. But it took Nikki 13 hours to check on her sick daughter and call an ambulance, and by then it was too late. But the question still remains. What happened in that room that caused a girl that was healthy a few hours earlier to get sick like that? Where did the bruises come from? And who, between Nikki and Callum, was responsible for Kaylee's death? Although Nikki and Callum both denied being responsible for what happened to Kaylee, they were quick to point the fingers at each other. Nikki had earlier told her own version of events, saying that while she was in the balcony smoking, she heard 3 to 5 coming from Kaylee's room. When asked why she didn't call emergency services immediately, she claimed she was scared and didn't know how to approach it. She said that when she found her daughter on the morning of August 9th, she dropped to the floor and started screaming. After the trial, the judge said that he was convinced that both Nikki and Callum were responsible for Kaylee's death. On the night of August 8th, the two put Kaylee to bed at 7 p.m. so they could go to Nikki's room and have some private time alone. But like many children, Kaylee did not want to go to bed, but to stay up and play. While there's no direct evidence as to what happened next, the judge believed that Nikki and Callum were irritated by Kaylee's constant crying and asking to be let out, which interrupted their intimate moment. They both took their frustrations out on the little girl, which ultimately led to her death. The vomiting was a result of the severe beating that Kaylee received. The judge went on to reprimand Nikki for not calling for help. Still, the judge was quick to add that he did not believe that the two intended to kill Kaylee. In the end, Nikki was found guilty of manslaughter and child cruelty. She was sentenced to 15 years for the manslaughter charge and 3 years for the cruelty charge. Both sentences would run concurrently, meaning at the same time. As for Callum, he was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 14 years. What do you think about Nikki's behavior after her child died? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.